Hey everyone, we got a good show for you this evening. We're going to be going live with Justin Stanton. Justin is a local Upshur County boy here and an awesome deer manager and hunter, and one of the best I've been around. So we're going to give everybody a couple of minutes here to get to, or about a minute or so to start checking in, and then we're going to go. Taking a look care of a little business there. Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to Longspur's Beyond the Holler podcast. Coming to you live this evening from Longspur headquarters here in beautiful Buckhannon, West Virginia, on the banks of Turkey Run. We're coming to you from our veranda studio, front porch of headquarters, overlooking the Turkey Run drainage and the mountains behind us. What a beautiful evening, late summer evening. It's not as cool as it was the other evening with when we had Steven Ziegler on, but it's still pretty nice out here. So we're going to get going here. Hey, one of the first things I need to do is I need to thank GoMart for sponsoring Longspur's Beyond the Holler podcast. We appreciate them. If you're anywhere throughout West Virginia and in the Ohio Valley and you're looking for a place to stop in, fuel up, grab a cold drink, and grab some snacks, hit your local GoMart and always go for good times and go for GoMart. We are proud to be associated with this fine West Virginia company, and we appreciate their sponsorships of everything Longspur. We appreciate working with them. So just remember, go for good times, go for GoMart. Uh, One of the things, coming up just around the corner is hunting seasons. And next week, September 1st, kicks off one of the biggest parties in the United States, and that's first day of dove season. Um, if you would drop some comments throughout the week on Longspur's Beyond the Holler or Longspur Tracking Facebook page about where you're going to be dove hunting, what kind of traditions you have, what do you do, how many boxes of shells does it take for you to get one dove? We like to hear those stories. So make sure you do that this week. You can even drop some in the chat this evening if you want to. Speaking of the chat this evening, if you have any questions for our guest this evening, Justin Stanton, please go ahead and type them out. I will put them on the screen. We will try to get them answered. Justin's a very in-depth gear manager, and we'll be putting him on up live here in just a minute. One of the questions I got after the last episode is I'm always wearing a different hat on every episode. A lot of those hats that I'm wearing are Longspur hats. Some of them aren't. Like this evening, I'm wearing a Charging at You hat. And I want to thank Tyler Hirschman of Charging at You. He does rentals. He's one of our drone pilots, and he gave me this hat. If you'd like to see your hat on our podcast, jump on the Longspur Tracking Facebook page, grab our address, and ship one out. I'll wear it on a live cast. You'll see it. And if you're looking for some of our hat styles, Longspur hat styles, you can go to whitetaildeertracking.com, whitetaildeertracking.com, and you can look through all of our hat styles, our shirt styles, our training scents, and Smokies deer lures. And we appreciate everybody out there that has been ordering their smokies. We've been sending quite a bit out. It's time to get those mock scrapes out there. And I'm sure we'll be talking to Justin about that. Once again, we're coming to you from Longspur headquarters this evening. Hey, another thing I wanted to mention, the Longspur app is live on the Apple App Store. It is live. We have a live app. It's on the Apple App Store. People have been using it. We've had over 50 signups in just 24 hours. It's been amazing. I'm happy. It's going good. We are going to be the nation's, right now, we're the nation's only wildlife management, true wildlife management app. And we are going to be doing some great and amazing things. Hey, I'm talking to my friends right now in Wisconsin, in Michigan, on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and in Delaware. If you witness EHD, jump on our app, fill out a free report. Also call your local DNR. We're not trying to supplant them, get them out there. But what we can do is we can crowdsource information and get it to these local DNRs. You can also see it in real time right on the app through our heat map. And it helps you make decisions. Like last year, a big decision was, do I spend money and go to Washington County, Ohio, and try to deer hunt? They got hit hard. So we're trying to crowdsource information. It's hunters helping hunters. And this app's all about that. We have feral hog reporting on there that you can do. Get on there, start filling these out, and you'll start seeing where we're going in the future. Maybe jump on our YouTube page or on the Longspur Beyond the Holler Facebook page. Look up Monday's episode with Steven Ziegler and watch it. And we talked a little bit about some top secret stuff about the future of this app and where it's going. Okay, so look for that on the App Store. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about this evening real quick before we get to our special guest, last week, Dan Infault was on, and he was talking about wait times. And he said, if you make a perfect shot on a deer, why wait? I agree with him on that. If you shoot a deer in the gut or liver, you need to wait. But he had an interesting theory, which I agree with to a point, on one lung shot deer. Okay? So, I mean, I just want to tell you about this. This is the chemistry of a chase. Okay? When you squeeze that trigger for half a second, nothing happens. And then that buck's whole world just changes. The second that broadhead or that bullet cuts through his shoulder muscle and into his lung, his brain doesn't process it like pain at first. It processes it like danger. And danger means one thing to a whitetail's body or any wild animal, and that's let's get gone. Okay, his adrenal glands dump a huge adrenaline dump straight into the bloodstream. That's right, adrenaline. And that's when the real show starts. See, adrenaline doesn't treat every part of that deer's body the same. It's playing favorites, and it's playing them real fast. It's in his legs and his lungs, and that hits shoulder, the blood vessels open wide open. That's called vasodilation, wide open. Blood floods in there like somebody kicked a dam open, and that's feeding oxygen to the muscles, and that's about to carry him 300 yards through a thicket that he'd normally walk around and take his time. And because that blood's moving so free, so fast through a wound that's already torn open, it's not clotting right. This blood isn't thin like water, but it might as well be. That wound bleeds like it's been thinned out because the body's pushing everything it's got straight through it. Now, here's the flip side. And this is the part most hunters and trackers never think about. While all that blood's rushing to his muscles, heart and lungs, his liver, kidneys, and his spleen, his whole gut, they're getting starved. This process is called vasoconstriction. And those vessels clamp down hard because right now digesting supper doesn't matter. Filtering blood doesn't matter. None of that is keeping him alive in that next 90 seconds. So all of that vasodilation is pumping blood through that heart, through those lungs, and out that shoulder. And that deer in that time period is dying. Okay? He's getting ready to go into shock and die. So what happens is the body shuts the door on those organs and sends everything it can spare to the legs and lungs. Okay? That's why a one lung hit through the shoulder can still put a buck down kind of quick, even though the shot don't look devastating on paper. You've got a torn lung, leaking with every breath, a shoulder wound bleeding harder than it should because of the vasodilation and the body flooding it, and organs that would normally help him stabilize and clot are sitting there starved of the blood they need because of vasoconstriction to do their job. It's the body's own survival response turned against itself. The very systems that is built to save him is what bleeds him out. So, the deer you're trailing through the laurel, he ain't just running from you. He's running on a body that's making choices for him, choices that were built for outrunning a bear or wolf or a coyote, not for surviving a punctured lung. And here's where a one lung hit breaks the rules that you've been taught your whole life. This ain't a gut shot. You don't back out and wait him out for hours. That other lung's still working. That adrenaline's still pushing blood through legs that can't carry him a long way before before he ever beds down for good. Every minute you sit at the truck deciding what to do is ground he's putting between you and him. He's bedding up. He's cleaning that wound up. That vasodilation is closing down. That wound clots. He basically is going to live to see another day. He may survive the hit, he may not, but he's not going to die that day. Now, the thought is, you push that deer. If you have the property as a hunter, push him 700 yards. And if you can't get the follow-up shot, get a dog. You should probably have a dog on the way before you go push him. Okay, now we've recovered a lot of deer the last couple of years, one lung hits. And it's because we pushed them. We got there, they're still alive, and we just keep pushing them and pushing them and pushing them, and then we can see them. And then we push them and we push them and we push them. And we can see them some more, and we're getting closer, and we close it in, and finally they stop in a holler or something. They just stand there because we've pushed them, that vasodilation's opened back up, and we pretty much bled them out. So, for those of you out there that asked me, that's what Dan was talking about. Okay? So, and he wasn't saying, that adrenaline, it acts like a blood thinner when it does vasodilation. So keep that word in mind. It's a big word for some of you out there. I know some of you are going to have trouble with it. Vasodilation, vasoconstriction, one lung hits. How to handle them. If you have questions, hit us up in the chat. Okay, I want to get over here and welcome tonight's guest, Mr. Justin Stanton, Buckhannon, West Virginia. How are you doing this evening, Justin?
Good, Sean. Thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Now, I just want to get into your background a little bit. Number one,
Yes,
is
sir.
this first podcast you've ever done?
First one, first one
Awesome.
ever.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate you coming on first with us. That's great. Now I advertised you, and you and I go back here a couple, 2 or 3 years, and we've known of each other before that. But
Yes, sir.
um, I've come to respect what you're doing locally here. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you got going on, and then we'll just start going from there.
Phew, that's a loaded start there, brother.
Yeah.
Um, I, I've got first of all, let's start. I lease most of my property.
Right.
Okay, my two bigger tracts of property are leased property, and
Okay.
then I have a couple little smaller pieces, family owned that I are permission pieces for me to hunt on. But those bigger tracks, man, I put a lot of time into. For where we're at in Upshur County, from where I'm located, Upshur County,
Right.
I'd have to say I go above and beyond as far as I do everything I can to make that piece of property the best piece of property it can be,
Right.
regardless. of the hand I was dealt. I'm going to make the best out of what I can with it. And I just love it. Might be more enjoyable for me in the process
Hmm.
to make the land the best deer hunting piece of property it can be.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, like I said, where do you want me to start? Because I do it all. Like, as far
Right.
as, all year round, we're clearing, we're cutting, we're food plotting in the summertime,
Right.
obviously it, trying to keep pressure off my properties
Right.
because we are in a very highly specifically gun hunted area. But I think the
Yeah.
pressure around here in general is high anyway. So
Right.
really, for big deer, we have the cards stacked against us, in my opinion,
Yes.
especially for managing for older deer and bigger bucks.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I was having this talk on Monday evening. There's still a lot of the old, if it's brown, it's down crowd, which is, fine, to each their own. But it does make it harder if they're your neighbor and you're managing. Um, so you got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, it's really hard around here. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I don't want to say rude, but most of your neighbors around these parts, especially when it comes to horns, because horn greed is a real thing.
Yes.
It, it's really tough around here to get everybody on the same page,
Hmm.
especially when you're trying to kill and hunt the age and quality class of deer that my little group is trying to kill.
Right. Now, on your lease, and you're saying age and quality, do you solely go by age, or are you trying to set a minimum width or a score or something, or a combination of all three, or?
Kind of probably a combination, not so much the width part of it.
Hmm.
I run a ton of trail cams, Sean. I
Right.
mean, and honestly, trail cams have been the most vital thing to my success over the last, especially 6, 7 years since cell cameras came out that I started
Yes.
using them. But I don't tell anybody what to kill necessarily on my properties.
Right.
Um, I always say if it makes your heart beat, you shoot it, whatever makes you happy. But
Hmm.
in my journey, and a couple of the buddies that I hunt with, our journeys have got us to the point now where we've killed plenty of 3.5-year-old deer. I've killed personally plenty of 4.5-year-old deer. And I'm saying the age is because I've got pictures. We run trail
Right.
cameras so much. I've got the past years of experience with those deer. But I'm to the point now in my journey where 5.5 is my goal. And
Okay.
that doesn't necessarily have to do with inches, horn inches.
Right.
Not all deer are created equal, and genetics are not all equal on all deer. I think there's plenty of occasions where you could have a 5.5-year-old deer that might only score 120 inches.
Right.
So I try to go more by age for myself personally,
Hmm.
and I've gotten my friends and family. We've been fortunate enough now that everybody's journey has kind of progressed to where we want to see those deer to maturity the best we can in our area. And I think a 5.5-year-old deer around here is
That,
hard to do.
that's pretty substantial, and it is hard to do. And you were talking about your leases, and some people out there that are watching, in other areas of the country, when they lease, they're leasing 1,000, 1,500 acres. They're in big clubs. Heck, I know of clubs that are 8, 10,000 acres, and there's a few of those in West Virginia, but not many, and they're usually overhunted. So I think the route you're going, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're probably what, in that 2 to 300 acre range on some of your properties, and when you think about that, um, you know, and this is what I run into too, doing older age management, is how do you hold multiple older age bucks on 2 to 300 acres? It's almost impossible because of overlapping home ranges, and a lot of those mature bucks, and I shouldn't say mature, 3.5 year olds will have almost a square mile home range. As they get older, squeezes in.
Yep.
But um, some of the things you do to keep them on that 2 to 300 acres? I know you said food plots. You got to find the right lease and people that'll allow you to do food plots. So that's one of the key components to your uh, keeping them there.
Uh, Food plotting is absolutely a huge part of it. Um, I actually probably looked at about 30 some properties before I settled on two of the ones that I have now.
Right.
Um, Cover, honestly, is probably, in my opinion, it's probably even a little bigger than the food. The food's big, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but if you don't have the cover, they don't have anywhere to hide, and they're never going to reach the age we want them to reach
Right.
without the cover. So I've put in a lot of miles on the old boots, checking out a lot of different properties because obviously I lease off of one of the biggest landowners around here, and I've checked an absolute ton of his properties, like
Right.
legitimately probably in the 30s. I looked at multiple occasions,
Hmm.
and it all came down to I think my biggest piece is right at just a hair under 400 acres,
Mm-hmm.
and even that I don't think is truly big enough to grow a deer on without worries of him being, shot by one of the neighbors, so to speak. I
Right.
truly think you probably need closer to 1,000 acres, honestly,
Right.
with the way a deer's rut range is.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum 500, and it better lay out the right way. But for me, honestly, food plotting is huge here, and a lot of people are like in West Virginia. It wasn't a food plotting wasn't a big thing when I first started doing it about 8 to 10 years ago. And
Right.
everything I've done food plotting has been self taught. All the mistakes, everything I've done in the last 8 to 10 years, because there wasn't a ton of info about food plotting
Right.
back in the day as well either, so to speak. In the last 5 6 years, it's become more readily available, and it seems to have been. It's become a much bigger thing now,
Right.
but it is it's worth every hour of hard work and every penny of money I've spent, in my personal opinion, to put that food plot in or those food plots in for multiple reasons. I use food plots for a couple different things. I mean, I've got a couple food plots that are kill spots that I actually hunt deer over and in, and then I have multiple. I have a 3 acre food plot that I've never hunted, and we
Right.
won't hunt over it. Uh, First of all, it's fairly in the open. If I ever wanted to hunt it, I'd have to put some screening up around it,
Right.
but which is very tactical, and I'm learning a lot about the last couple of years. You could change a lot of things with screening if you plan it right. But I've got two or three plots that are more for nutrition and sanctuary.
Right.
Like I'll plant food now for February. Has
Right.
nothing to do with hunting over them.
Right. Now, do you do soil tests? Have you been?
I do. I'll be honest with you, but personally, like I said, everything I've done, like I said, self-taught. I
Right.
do, but the soil here we have in West Virginia, honestly, obviously, is not great anywhere, no matter
Right.
where you're at. Um, so it's always worth it to see specifically what you need to put into it. But I'll be honest with you, I just try to lime and fertilize everything all the time, basically. Not so much on the fertilizer, but I try to lime at least a ton per acre
Right.
every fall if I can.
Right. Yeah, we have a very acidic soil around this country. That's for sure. So that lime goes a long ways.
It helps a ton, and you know, every so often I'll do some nitrogen. I'll add some nitrogen in, um, fertilizer once stuff's come up out of the ground. But as far as just actually doing the soil test and going by what they say, you should. But I'm not sure, honestly. That would be in West Virginia super expensive if you tried to get it exactly perfect.
Exactly right where it needs to be. You would be spending a ton in fertilizer. No
A
pun
lot of money.
intended. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, what and like you said, you're planting now for what they're going to eat in February.
In some of my plots, yes. Now, like I said, I'm actually going tomorrow to try to get some later season plot stuff in, but the first two I put in back in early August, those are for now. Uh,
Right.
those are a lot of, and shout out to Roger over at PNR, but I used his. early plot blend,
Yeah.
and that is for I want that young tender greenage for early season, and that will be hunted over.
Right.
And
Right.
it's food plots. I don't like telling a whole lot of people, but I'm going to be honest with you. Whenever I kind of figured it out and got them to grow, it really was a game changer in the amount of deer and the quality of deer I was seeing.
Right.
As long as they're in the right place, and or like I said, if they're not in the right place, you architecturally make it the right place by adding screening or whatever else you need to do.
Yes.
They're game changers, man. Like they
Right.
really are.
Now, do you do any mowing and just use the natural forbs that come back in as food, also in places?
For summertime, yes.
Okay.
A lot of the fall plots that I put in, I purposely plant in with clover, with some type of clover that'll grow back in them,
Okay.
and then I'll go back in the spring, sometime around late April, May when stuff's growing, and I'll cut
Right.
it down and try to keep a nice clover field in there until it's time to get back with it in the fall. Whenever I'm putting in, basically, I'd put in three major things, and I have for the last 8 years: turnips, radishes, sugar beets. Like
Yeah.
so far, those three things have been hard for me to beat because I get the greenage on top for the early season in the fall, and then I've got bulbage underneath for stuff
Yep.
later on. So it's a nice little combination.
Yeah. They definitely in this area they love to kill the turnips. I mean that's uh, one of the worst kept secrets around, maybe. And I wish more people would plant them. They're it's pretty good food for them. Um,
One of the other for me is like I know in West Virginia, it's hard to fathom putting in a food plot because I'm not going to lie to you, it's not easy. Like
right.
it's a lot of work, and it honestly, it's not cheap most times. Like for me personally, myself, I have to rent a tractor, I rent a tiller, I'm buying seed. Like I said, I'm buying that lime, I'm buying that fertilizer. It's not cheap, but I want every advantage I can possibly get over my neighbor.
Right.
And most my neighbors aren't willing to put in that kind of time or effort. So if I can give them some kind of mainstay food source, if my
Hmm.
neighbor's property is better than mine, I'm trying to give myself every advantage I possibly
Right.
can.
Exactly. Um, you mentioned Roger there. He just gave us a shout out. What's up, Justin and Sean?
Hey,
So,
Roger.
hey, Roger. Yeah, we'll probably be mentioning your stuff here a little more. Um, over Jeff Shipman here in Buckhannon. I know Jeff well. Passing smaller bucks year after year and cooperation between neighboring landowners, all doing the same, makes a big difference if you can keep poachers away, which that's true.
Huge. I don't know. You know, I think we've gotten better. I think me and you had this conversation last year at one point in time. I think overall we've gotten better at managing age around here, so to
Yes.
speak. I just, I, like I said, whatever makes you happy, shoot it. But
Right.
we've gotten better around here at that letting that 3.5 year old walk.
Yes.
And I think that's absolutely huge because I do think we are in a good area to actually grow good bucks.
Yes.
Like I think the potential's here to grow some really good bucks if we just let them get to the age they need to get.
Yes. Um, do you do a lot of mineral on your properties?
Absolutely. Speaking of, the man himself just said hey to us there. I've been using PNR minerals now. PNR um, Supreme minerals for the last, I think, of 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually met Roger through but it's crazy. Roger lives like we live 10 minutes away from each other, pretty much 15 minutes away from each other. But I actually met him through a buddy of mine. I used to be a part of a little group, and most of us were located in southern West Virginia called Calculated Killers.
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy of mine, uh, John Fuller, shout out John, he had somehow saw Rogers ads, some stuff, and he's like, "Hey man," he hit me up because it saw it was in Buchanan. And he's like, "Hey man, we were looking for some minerals for some leases and stuff I used to be on down there."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Hey man, have you ever heard of this guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of Roger. I've heard good stuff about him." He's like, "Oh, we're thinking about trying out his mineral." And I was like, Absolutely. And John asked me, he said, "Why don't you go try it out since you're close? You can get it before me and see what you think."
Hmm.
So I was like, "Absolutely, dude." So I got a hold of Roger, and of course, we hit it off. Very similar mindsets and everything. And I got some of it and used it, and I haven't looked back, man.
Yeah.
Like I've got holes in the ground
Yeah.
two,
Exactly.
3 feet deep from where the deer have just destroyed them over the years.
Well, and it's not that they're just destroying the minerals. It does help them. I've seen a big change in our herds over here after using PNR for over a year. So um,
Well, not to cut you off, Sean, but
go ahead.
Rogers, he's got it down, man. Like
Oh yeah.
there's a science to what he's putting in the bag.
Yes.
That's the difference. Like it's
Yeah.
proven, it's backed up formula. Like it's not a bunch of filler.
Yeah.
It's proven stuff that the deer actually need and want.
Yes.
Uh,
And and I tell people it's not Kool-Aid and salt. That's what most minerals are.
that's
Just
right.
Kool-Aid and salt.
Yep.
So um, but yeah, he does not uh, he doesn't skimp on his minerals. They're great. They have exactly what a deer needs. And our deer are slamming them, which means they need them. And I just keep giving them minerals. I mineral year round,
Yep.
year
I
round.
I try to as well. We on most of my properties at some point in time, like
Hmm.
this summer's I've been off a little bit because I just moved in June and it's been super hectic
Yeah,
since we moved. So I've been a little behind on stuff compared to years past as far as that goes, minerals and camera running. But
right.
we've always got something out, and 100% of the time for the last 3 years, it's been PNR.
There you go. There you
So
go. And we're not meaning to do a whole big P&R commercial. It's just that that's what we both use.
listen, I will not back. I can tell you right now, Sean, this is the first podcast, and this might be the only podcast I do. I will not back a product that I don't use or believe in. End
Right.
of story. Nobody
Exactly.
pays me. I'm not sponsored. I
Right.
use Rogers stuff because I think Rogers is a good guy and he's local and I want to support local. And it
Yep.
works.
When when do you think what year did you really start like getting into the management stuff? Catch the management bug.
Been managing to some level for, I'm going to say probably since I was in my mid 20s and I'm pushing 40. So probably 15 plus years. Now, 15 to 18 years. Now, the last 7 to 8 is where I've taken it. My journey's taken me to a different level.
Right.
And I've really, really tried to lock down and be particular on what's going on.
Right. You mentioned you run a lot of cell cams there earlier. What's your favorite? What does the
Um,
best for you?
so I've been a Spartan guy for a long time.
Okay.
I am no longer uh, on the pro staff, but I used to be on the pro staff with them. Um I've used them for probably 8 years now, at least.
Hmm.
They, in my opinion, in the cell cam world, you pay for what you get.
Right.
Stuff's getting better now, and I believe I'm getting ready to possibly try a couple of the new reveals, the 4.0s.
Hmm.
Heard and seen really good reviews on those. But I've been a Spartan guy for a long time, and I attribute probably half or more of my success to those cell cameras.
Right.
Whenever the whenever the cell cam game came out and I got a hold of those, that changed everything for me as far as efficiency or how efficient I could be
Right.
on killing a big deer.
It helped me with the patience factor when
Big
cell
time.
cams first come out. Now, when I go back to the 35 millimeter days where you put the little 35 millimeter camera in. Yeah, that actually was a separate camera that went inside the box, and
Yeah.
then you put the film. Yeah, and some of the first digital cameras I had were Moultries that were as big as a suitcase.
Yep.
But when I would see those bigger bucks, it created patience. I never had any before that. It was like, oh, there's a buck. Oh, he's a rack buck. Okay, stick an arrow through it. or sit an hour and not see any movement, so out of the tree I go. Uh, Missed opportunities. Number one, by pulling the trigger, and number two, by not being there when the big boys are coming through. So that's been a game changer. Been a game changer.
Yeah, what you just said right there was huge for me as far as I can remember back in the day when I used to run a bunch of just the regular wild games you could go buy from Walmart for 40 or $50 and had the SD card in them. And you always had to go pull the SD card on them to see what your pictures were.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, it happened to me multiple years in a row. I was hunting this one specific buck and I'd go down into the bottom and I'd check my camera and he was all over my camera the week before I checked my camera. And then I'd go in to hunt him and wouldn't see him because I
Right.
was step behind him already at that point in time.
Right.
So with the cell camera, there's so many things, man. Like not only is that up to real time information so big, especially on smaller properties, and not, like I said, I consider my biggest property a little under 400 acres. I still really consider that a small property, and it has allowed me to be patient but aggressive at the same time. I know when to
Mm-hmm.
go in. You know what I mean? And I could take sitting back and watching the pictures I get off the camera, you can decipher so much if you got your camera set in the right places.
Right.
Where's he coming from? So you can backtrack if you need to. Or is he coming in daylight? Is he coming in the dark? You know, and even while you're hunting too.
Right.
I know I use my cell cams to know if a deer has busted me on my access on the way to come in and out
Yes.
because I'll normally sit and I'll watch those cams. But I'm a busy guy too, obviously, Sean. Run my own business, got
Mm-hmm.
2 kids, got a wife. So the less time, honestly, I can spend in the woods, the better it is for my family life, so to speak. If you get what I'm
Right.
saying. So I want to use my time wisely, and those really help me use my time wisely. But if I'm hunting a
Yes.
specific deer, I would normally wait, obviously, until I think he's huntable because my properties are so little. I don't want to pressure him until I absolutely have to put pressure on him.
Right.
So if he's coming in 10 minutes after daylight, I'll wait until I get that first picture of 30 minutes before, or, 30 minutes before it gets dark. So I know it's okay, then it's time to go, time to move in. And then I
Right.
move in, but I don't see him while I'm hunting. I get out of the stand. He comes in 10 minutes after dark. That deer's busting me. He knows, whether it's my access wasn't good, he knows somehow he knew I was in there, especially if it happens to
Right.
you more than once. Maybe a fluke the first time, but if you hunt 2 or 3 times and he comes in 30, 10, 20, 30 minutes after you're out of there, that deer knows you're coming in there.
Oh yeah. Now, last week I had Dan Infault on, and it was really interesting. He says he won't hunt at a camera. The camera's for intel, and the camera also lets that buck know where you're at and at what time. And if you get attached to that camera, a buck will turn around and start hunting you.
I don't disagree with that statement at all, but my rebuttal to that would be it sounds like he's got a lot of time to hunt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the difference with it. If I had all the time in the world to hunt,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I would love to not have to rely on them at times as much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
But with such limited time, I want to make the time that I go in count. And I put
Right.
way too much hard work and time and money into preparing for those few opportunities I might get to
Right.
not take full advantage of any kind of information or opportunity I can to help me kill that deer.
Right. Right. Um.
But I'll tell you, I
Go
forgot. I'll
ahead.
tell you a little story about that. So, and I'll tell you how I know that and how I figured it out. Is I was hunting this specific deer, and he showed me on camera it was time to move in. It was time to go. So I was like, all right. I decided to go in and hunt him. And the first evening I hunted him, I actually saw him from a distance, probably 80, 90 yards away from me. He came in right at dark, ended up staying outside of bow distance, got out of the stand pretty quietly about 20 minutes later, thought I went undetected. Maybe 30 minutes after I get home, cell cam goes off, ding, he's on the camera.
Right.
Okay, go in the next day. Don't see him at all. Hunt all evening, get out. 30 minutes after dark, ding, camera goes off. There he is. So I'm like, okay, that's a little odd. Like I'm starting to think like that's a little funky. So I go in a third day, and normally I don't like hunting that many days in a row, to be honest with you. But I go in
Right.
a third day, sit hunt, don't see him, see all kinds of deer, don't see him. Same thing, get out. 30 minutes later, ding, camera goes off. There he is. So I was like, all right, this deer's got me pinned. I don't know how. I don't know how he's
Yeah.
seeing me. He's hearing me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I did to solve that problem. So obviously, when I was going to that spot, it was far enough away. I was riding a full wheeler to it most times,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't. I don't say I wasn't parked on the four wheeler a super long way away from the tree stand, so to speak. You know what I mean? Maybe 100, 120 yards, 150 yards somewhere.
Right.
But I had a hunch that he was hearing me ride to where I was parking my four wheeler.
Okay.
So what I did was is the next time I went in there, I stayed out of there for a few days, and the next time I went in there, I had my buddy take me up on my four wheeler and drop me off, and he rode out, and I walked in from there.
Uh-huh.
And I tricked him. I ended up seeing that deer about within probably, I would guess, 45 minutes of the time my buddy dropped me off and left me. I saw that
Right.
deer and I killed him.
Yeah. I, I love that trick because they
Yeah.
do time you on those
Yep.
ATVs and side by sides.
Yep.
Um, Supplemental feeding. Do you do a lot of supplemental feeding on your properties or?
So that's a lot of what I do food plotting for.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I do supplemental feeding as well. Normally, I'm trying to feed from, I don't know, I want to say August to March, like actually feed, whether it's protein, corn. I don't really care. Say what you want. I feed corn all the time.
Right.
Not just spotty though. You know what I mean? I don't just go in
Right.
August or September and throw corn out on the ground and expect to kill deer over it.
Right.
But I use corn. It's illegal, so I
Yeah.
use corn for inventory and just to if the weather gets bad. You know what I mean? If there's 2 or 3 foot of snow on the ground,
They're coming to it.
yeah, yes, I'm going to do what I can to try to keep them as healthy as I can. But that's a lot of what I do my food plotting for. Because
Right.
my food plots, especially, you get that bulbage on sugar beets and radishes and stuff. It normally will last. I have one plot that's pushing 3 acres, which
Hmm.
is a great size plot for West Virginia, if you ask me. And
Right.
that'll normally last my deer until almost March. And then
Okay.
about that time, by that point in time, I'm starting to switch over and hammer on the PNR minerals.
Right. Have you done any like weighing your deer? See where your deer weights are year after year or
I haven't. If you're asking me if I think that what I've done put some weight on them, so to speak, yeah,
yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind. Like
Okay.
that's I said, this one of the reasons I do it. And I don't only just do it for the bucks. I mean, I'm doing it just as much for doe health and doe nutrition as I am, you know, as
Oh yeah.
far as the bucks goes, because we want those fawns to be healthy.
Well, that's the thing, and I tell people, with the PNR Whitetail Supreme Mineral Mix, getting some quality high protein feed into these does. Your goal is to put some weight on these does, get them through the winter at a good weight, produce a healthy fawn, and then make that mama a Holstein. She needs to be a good milker. That
Yep.
way, she's feeding these fawns to the fullest. And growing deer simply breaks down to almost being a good farmer, is what I tell people.
It
You gotta think of it that way.
It sure
Um,
helps.
and that's how you make bigger calves is have a good milking mama. So you want to have a good milking mama doe,
Yep.
and she's going to raise heavier fawns. Heavier fawns going into that first fall, especially your button bucks. That's going to help them going into their second fall. And by year three, when they're 3.5, maybe they're starting to show some potential that on a property that's nothing's done on it takes 5.5 years to see that. So that's one of
Yeah.
the big things we really preach.
I be honest with you, I probably have 6 or 7 different food plots. And like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I only actually plant two of them to hunt bucks on,
Right.
so to speak. The rest of my food plots are for nutrition and to kind of supplement that supplemental feeding period, so to speak.
Right.
I see does in those plots, the does and fawns, which I'm happy about. I
Right.
probably need to take some out, but
Yeah,
they
that was going to be
hammer,
my next question.
they
Yeah.
hammer the plots, man. From especially now, I'm going on year 3 at the big lease with the plots, and I'm going on year 4, 5 with my two smaller ones. And
Right.
those deer have gotten used to me putting them in there every year. I mean, they
Right.
they know they're going to be there. Besides for 2 years ago when we had the really bad drought, and I tried everything I could that year to get plots to grow. I hired the fire
Oh,
department to bring a fire truck in and water my
what
plots, trying to
water?
save them in the in the drought,
Yeah.
and it still didn't work. But I mean, two of them are basically for the buck kills, and the rest of them are for the does and the fawns, honestly. And that keeps food in there from when they start growing in August, like I said, most of the time until February. And I'll tell you another reason that I really, really like food plots.
Okay.
I don't have other people may not have the same view on it, but I don't have issues with bears with food plots.
Right.
And obviously, like I said, I'm not afraid of corn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And neither are the bear.
Yeah.
And just about everywhere I hunt, if you put a bag of corn out on the ground anywhere, it's probably not going to be too long before Mr.
Exactly.
Yogi's on it.
Yeah. I just had that happen today. I stopped in, refreshed a mineral lick, and put out a little bit of the new sweet caramel feed from Roger. And within 2 hours, there was a bear there.
Back in the day when I was like 16, 17, 18, I was bow hunting a lot on my own, and I had just, like I said, the regular wildlife game cams. I would hardly ever see bears. You'd
Yeah.
get occasional night pictures, but you would never ever see them in the daytime.
Yeah.
And it's just like the last 10 years now, they have exploded and
Yeah.
they're everywhere. Like you cannot put a camera somewhere, honestly, in the woods anymore without, and that's something else. Those things, they just tear up the cameras.
Oh gosh, they're
They
bad.
never leave cameras alone.
Yeah. Um,
So,
I've had worse luck with them and cutty back cameras. You can put a cutty back beside any other camera, and they will eat a cutty back camera. So, whatever you're doing cutty back, you probably need to switch
yeah.
something. I don't know if you're using flavored plastic or what.
They've forced me to start hanging my most of my cams majority of the times. And I don't in my food plots and stuff, obviously, because like I said, I don't have an
Right.
issue with them in my food plots.
Right.
And but they've forced me to the point where I hang most of my cameras 10 or 12 feet in the tree. I
Right.
will hang them 10 or 12 feet up off the ground, pointing them down, and that seems to do better.
Right. Right.
And of course,
Uh,
I'm always trying to hang my cams. Honestly, if I can, I will try to spray my cams down before I hang them anywhere. But if I can get them in wherever I want them the day before or the day of a rain as well to help wash that scent away,
yeah.
I'm doing that as well.
Well, and I tell people if you're going to have trail cameras and you're going to feed, check your camera first before you feed, and you get any corn residue or any minerals on your hands, because if you transfer that to that camera's gone
Yep.
anymore.
The
um,
nose that those things have on them is incredible.
yeah, probably need to get one of those for a tracking dog.
They do a good job at it. They eat enough fawns.
Yes, they do. Doe management, you kind of mentioned it there a little bit, that you probably need to take a few. I mean, what do you do? What do you feel on that?
I'm a full believer on doe management. Like I'm trying, especially around here. I mean, I
Yeah.
had you come in last year for me and do a
Yeah.
survey on my one farm, and I think we had like 21 doe and fawn
Yeah.
or something like that, and like 0 bucks.
Yeah.
There was leaves on, so obviously we were only looking at the fields and stuff.
Right.
But still, there wasn't even hardly any bucks out in the fields. So I
Right.
needed I needed to take a bunch, and we did. I think last year I ended up between me and a couple buddies. I think we killed 8 or 10, which wasn't enough. Like I still need to take out more,
Right.
but I'm a full believer on doe management. Like one, I eat it. Like
Right.
we live off of deer here in my home. Like
Right.
we put I put 6, 7 deer in the freezer every winter, and that's the only meat that we eat around here. We use it for everything. Anything you can use to cook, cook with beef wise, well, you can use deer, venison, and we
Yes.
do. So
Yep.
that, and then obviously the less those that are around, the competition is less, which means, the group's getting more on the
Yeah.
nutrition and forage part of it. Also, social stress is a
Yeah.
big key. You know what I mean? I like to try to keep social stress, the herd. I don't
Yep.
want them all in the same areas all the time, using the same places.
Right.
The
Right.
full believer in them. I am not
Good.
afraid to put some does in the freezer, my friend.
Well,
I think it's
that's
big. I think it's big.
right.
If you have too many does, there's too many variables, especially in a rut, that you can't control. Because if
Right.
you have too many does, your bucks don't have to go looking. You know what I
No,
mean? Your rut movement is going to be
it's
little.
flat. It's
That's right.
flat.
If he can set in a 5 acre bedroom and tend to 5 to 10 does that are right there, why is
He's
he ever going to go look for other deer?
he doesn't have to go advertise. He doesn't have to run scrape lines. He doesn't have to leave that cover.
That's
And
right.
you'll say, "Well, I'm not seeing any rut activity. Rut didn't kick in, or it was all nocturnal." No, it was just going on in that cover.
I
Um,
also, not to cut you off, Sean, but I
sure.
also believe that if you have too many does, it can drastically. I saw you on a comment on a post that you made the other evening about your buck to doe, or I think I told you about your buck to doe ratio, because you were talking about seeing fawns early this past year.
Yes. Yes.
And to me, I commented and I said, well, that to me, that could be an indicator of you have a good
Right.
buck to doe ratio in your area. Um, and I fully believe that last year we had an early-ish. There was a. I'm not saying all of them. I know that
Right.
there's proven fact majority of the does all come in at the same time, whatever that date is, the 12th of November, something like that. But
Right.
I fully believe that there could be a few does, especially your mature ones, go into
Yep.
heat long before that November the 12th date. And
Right.
last year, I saw some bucks pushing does with my own eyes in middle of October, which would add up to you
Yep.
seeing fawns when you did.
Early
But
May. Yep.
but if you're not controlling your buck to doe, if you're not trying to keep that doe ratio down and there's too many does for your bucks to breed, then you're going to have breeding going on in your second and your third cycle, even fourth
Yep.
cycle in January and February. Then you're causing everything to be off track, because then your
Yep.
fawns are dropping way late.
Way late. They're trickling in, and then that just creates a buffet for those bears, bobcats, and coyotes.
And they're going to be behind all the time. Those deer
Yep.
are always going to be behind.
Yes. Um, let's kind of go to switch it up a little bit here and talk about some of your successes. We're looking at you here, you and behind you on your wall. Just tell us a little bit about some of the deer that you've been able to take over the years.
Those two guys like back there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I said, I actually got two. My last two, I'm still waiting on to get back from um taxidermy.
Hmm.
But you said you want stories on them. What was the question? What was the?
Hey,
What'd you say?
just tell us about them. How many? Let
Oh,
me ask you a simple question.
okay.
How many 120-inch bucks have you killed?
So I have killed in Upshur County alone, and it's actually, I'll have to tell you, I've killed 918 inch or better deer in Upshur
Okay,
County.
that's great. That's
In
great.
the last, probably, I was sitting down with my buddies the other night. We were trying to figure it out. I think in 13 years, in the
Mm-hmm.
last 13 years, I've been successful 9 times with deer that were 118 or above. And all of the nine that I've killed that size have, in my estimation, the best I can account for, have all been at least 5 years old.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And a lot of people that may be out there watching this in other states, especially I know we have a contingent that watches us out of Wisconsin. West Virginia has been behind and is starting slowly to catch up in whitetail management. So when we're talking 118-inch buck for you guys across the river in Ohio, up in Wisconsin, we're equating that to your everyday 140, 150 over there. So it's starting to pick up here, though. Um, and one of the things I look to is I look to who's being successful in their area on the mature deer in their area. Doesn't matter the antler size. We were talking about that earlier about what you like to hunt and get after is mature deer. So, but with maturity comes the biggest antlers in the area, and I think you've been pretty successful at that.
Most times. I said I've seen cases where I've had 3.5-year-olds that were bigger than 4.5-year-olds.
Right,
So, it's a fine line as
right,
far as that goes. But I personally think 5-year-old animal around here, if you start trying to go much more than that, you could go years and years and years between,
right,
animals. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, I like to kill deer.
right. Oh yeah, oh yeah,
And
exactly.
it's a different challenge for those bucks, man. It's just a mature animal like that in a pressured area that we're in, and we haven't got to hit on it much yet, but to trick a deer, to trick deer 5.5 around here,
Yeah,
that's what it's all about for me because that's just a different ball game. When they get to that level around here, they've
yes,
seen a thing or two, and they are different animals.
yes. Those of you out there in the audience this evening, if you have questions for Justin or if you have just any general questions, let's be getting them in. Um, I appreciate Justin talking with us this evening. Justin, now you've got to witness recovery with dog and with drone. Um, and actually, you have had a couple different, you've got to see it in two different situations with each.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, for our audience, because we don't talk to a lot of hunters usually that have experienced that. I mean, they may see them on our YouTube and some of our episodes, but they don't, we don't usually have them on to talk. So, um, what did you think of, I mean, both? I mean, since you've witnessed both, and we can talk about that.
Which one let me start with, the drone or the dog?
Hey, whichever one you want to go, go
So
ahead.
I'll just tell the people my story from my first encounter with you and your
Sure.
dog.
Okay.
Um, I had just gotten a piece of property local that a lot of people know about that have it was public ground before I leased it. And it's always been a pretty good spot. And I actually had went in there the year before I leased it and hunted it as public land. And I had found this buck that was, I thought at the time, at least 4.5, but he had broken off one side, basically
Mm-hmm.
completely at the beam. So I kept him tucked back up in there and fed him as much as I could in the back corner of the property. And finally, after I knew he lived the season, I went and talked to the landowner and got him to lease me the property. And the next year, I got him on cam early on, and he was a dandy. It's deer ended up calling Blades because he was 100 and it was about 130 green scored about 135-inch 10 point, but he
Mm-hmm.
had very very bladed tines. Like his tines came up, and actually they wanted to split at the top as G2s. They almost split,
Right.
and that deer, like I said, he showed up early. Um, Shoot, I forgot what I was getting at. Lost my
Well,
train of thought because I was thinking ahead of the point. Ahead of
yeah,
the
we're
point.
talking about dog recovery on that
Oh, the
deer.
dog recovery on him. That's right. So got on him, hunted him, did everything I needed to do. The very first time I went in to hunt him, we got within probably 60 yards of him, me and a buddy of mine, and didn't get to shoot him. I think I went back in about a week later, and it was November the 7th, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. It was somewhere right there around November the 7th. And I went in, I actually walked in on that deer in the morning time. He was tending a doe. He was locked down with a doe.
Right.
And I walked in and I actually shined my headlight right on him. I,
Right.
I, I was standing 30 yards from him, 50 yards from my stand. Didn't know what to do, froze. And I ended up just saying, heck with it, I was here. I'm going to go ahead and walk in. And the doe he was with, she jumped up and kind of took off. And I heard her stop not too far over the hill, but he kind of followed her over. And long story short, he ended up coming back into me about 2 hours later. He followed her right back in. And I was
Right.
about, I think in the stand I was in there, I was about close to 30 feet off the ground where I'm at there. And he came in and gave me. Um, he was quartering two on me, and I shot him, and I guess the mistake I ended up making at the end, I didn't realize it at the time, was I didn't account for enough how steep the angle was.
Right.
But I knew I hit him, and I hit him hard, and I thought that I hit him, and I thought the arrow went into the back shoulder, and he took off running. Man, I knew I hit him hard. Like he took off running downhill, straight downhill. Like
Right.
I thought I hit him good enough. I expected to watch him fall, but I never seen him fall,
Right.
and I couldn't see the arrow or anything like that. So I waited a little bit, and I got down, and I started trailing a small blood trail, and I might have trailed it, I don't know, 150 yards or so. And I just wasn't pleased with what I saw. Like I wasn't happy
Right.
with what I saw, and I couldn't see the deer. So I was like, I told my buddy, I was like, I'm backing out, and I'm gonna call Sean.
Yeah.
And so I backed out, and I called you that evening, and we talked, and I think I probably honestly ended up talking you into coming because we went over the scenario, and you were
Yeah.
kind of like, "Man, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure." You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
something that I can say for sure we're going to go and find him. And I was
Right.
like, "Sean, I don't
Yeah.
care. Come
Just
out.
let's
I'll
just
pay
track
you.
him.
I just want to know for sure. You know what I mean? I want to see." And you
Yeah.
come out. And I think it was Jesse. Was it Jesse you
Yep.
brought out? You
Yep.
brought Jesse out, and she got on the trail, man. And I don't know. We ended up going maybe 300 or 400 yards, and you just pretty much told me like, I can just kind of tell by the way she's talking, man, I don't think this deer's dead.
Yeah.
And I truly, at the time, I've killed a lot of deer, man. And I truly, at the time, I thought I hit him hard enough to probably kill him. I didn't know, how far he'd go, especially we were in the rut. So that buck's got testosterone in him.
Yeah.
Totally different beast
Yep.
when we're dealing with the testosterone level being up. But you were like, man, I don't think this deer's, the way Jesse's talking to me, I don't think this deer's dead. And I was like heartbroken, man, because like
Yeah.
this is a big old deer for around here,
Yeah.
and I didn't think I knew I hit him hard, and I was just so worried about him dying from disease or something like that.
Yeah.
And I still, even after you left, to be honest, I was like, he's got to be like, well, I've got a lot of thick bushes and stuff,
Yeah.
around on the
Yeah.
knolls around in there, and I just kept telling myself too, he's got to be dead
Yeah.
somewhere in some of these bushes or something. But lo and behold, like the next night, legitimately the next night, I ended up getting a camera picture of him on video of him walking through my food plot.
Right.
So that was when I was like, okay, I'm a believer. Exactly what happened. Sean was right. Now the deer was hurt. He was
Yeah.
hurt bad. He was limping bad, and I knew
Right.
I had to make it my mission from that point on to get him dead. But
Right.
I saw her firsthand. I saw you read her, and
Yeah.
you both were on point. You were exactly right.
I got back home that evening. Chrissy didn't go on that track with me, which was one of the few that she doesn't go. She said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "I think the deer's alive, but I don't think Justin believes me."
Yep.
And she said, "Well, hopefully he'll show back up on camera." And I said, "Well, it is the rut, so maybe 24 to 48 hours, and then I'll feel better." I said because I do really trust Jessie. I mean, I trust her.
Yep. I could
Uh,
tell.
and when my doubt comes in, it's from my hunter.
Yep.
It's like, man, I know I hit him hard. I know I did.
For
And
me, looking back at it, like still looking back at it now, and I'll be honest with you, even after I ended up killing that deer a couple weeks later, it came back
right,
in. I killed him a couple weeks later, and I took him to the meat cutters, and even my
yeah,
butcher, he ended up like we cut him open, and he looked at it, and even my butcher said, "Not real sure how you didn't kill that deer," because I took out the top of one lung, like I had
yeah,
hit the backside of one lung, and I'd put a pretty polarized like indent in the back shoulder on the other
yeah,
side.
yeah,
Like you could tell when we saw the video the next 2 nights, like he was limping bad, he was
yeah.
hurt, and I
You
shoot a
were,
mega meat broadhead,
yeah. I
dude,
was gonna just say you're shooting a G5 Mega Meat, which, and I wanted to
nasty.
add, and I'm not sponsored by Mega Meat. I use a different broadhead, but it's a very unusual time if we don't recover a mega meat deer because it puts a huge hole in them. It slows them down, and especially one long.
Yep,
But it's so neat. Jessie knows those deer, and she knows those one long ones that she's able to catch. Usually,
yep,
one long deer is not dead right away, and that was my talk. I'm sure you probably heard some of it. it's not dead, and we got to push them
Yep.
and make them dead. So, but she was not giving me any indication that she was going to get on that deer and catch that deer. So, and you spoke of Jake Lowther there. There he is, Courtney and Jake, and he said, "I remember blades."
Yep.
So,
The
yeah.
funny part is actually that deer, whenever Jake cut him open, I think was it him? It was either him or the last one. I think both of them, to be honest with you. Both the last two deer I've killed off that property, and then two of the deer, one of my buddies that I hunt with all the time, Martin, that hunts with me.
Hmm.
We've killed four deer off that property in the last 2 years, and all four of them have had multiple wounds from being shot
Wow.
before.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Yeah. Huh. That's amazing.
So,
That's
but
amazing.
yeah, it took me one time to see you work, and exactly what happened happened. You said what happened happened, and that's all I needed. I became a full believer after that. And watching how the system you went about, how you did it, and how the dog did it, I only need to
Yeah.
see it once to know
Right.
it worked.
And then about what was it, a week later, Martin shot one and couldn't be there. So
Yep.
you were there, and we recovered that one. I mean, that was a pretty simple track.
Yeah, that was a gut shot deer. He's gonna hate me for saying that, but it is what it
Yeah,
is. We
it
got it.
is.
And of course, I think that might have been a 4.5 year old. I think it was. I think I was when we first found it. I was debating on whether it was 3.5 or 4.5 because I was giving him the old 1-2 under my breath, like that better not be
Yeah,
a 3.5 year old deer.
yeah,
But yeah, that one was gut shot, and it was straight to. Like
yeah,
that one was a 10. Once we took Jesse to the site where the deer was shot, I think within 10 or 15 minutes we had that deer found.
yeah, yeah. Dog's pretty effective. Then this past fall, Martin shot one,
That's right.
and it was on the property line. I mean, like just the bedding area was on the property line. The stand was not far. I mean, about a couple, 200 or 300 yards inside, but
Yep.
the deer went towards the bedding area on the property line, and y'all were a little concerned about getting in there and bumping that deer. So you decided let's go drone on that one.
Yep. He actually that we worked that out, that hunt, thinking back, that was so perfect because I had killed what we called the big eight there a couple weeks before that, and it was again probably early November, and I had made the bad decision about forgetting to buy my extra buck stamps.
Right?
So when I killed the one buck I killed last year, which I was happy with, don't get me wrong, but there was a few others out there that if I'd had extra tags, I probably would have pulled the trigger on as well, especially the deer Martin killed.
Mm-hmm.
But after I killed mine, it was all right. We're going to get you on this deer, brother, and we had a cam in a good spot for it there, and it's close to the property line, but by
Right?
no means were we hunting deer. He was coming from us. You know what I
Right?
mean? We weren't hunting. He wasn't coming from the other property on us. He was
Right?
betting on us. We were just close to the property line,
Yeah.
and it was the weekend before gun season,
Mm-hmm.
and it had, I think it was Friday night or Saturday night, and it rained, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it rained. It rained hard. And me and Martin were texting the night before, and I was like, dude, you need to go. Like, the deer had showed up the day before on camera in
Yep.
daylight, maybe even 2 days in a row. And he had to work and couldn't make it or whatever. But I was like, dude, you need to go. Like, gun season comes in Monday. Things totally change whenever, the
Yep.
blood starts flying. I was like, you need to go. I don't care if you got to go in and sit in the rain for a little bit. This rain, we looked at the weather app, saw the rain was supposed to stop, within 30 minutes to an hour of daylight time.
Yeah.
And it worked perfect. He went in, it was raining when he went in, and he climbed up in there. I think it was a Saturday morning. And within like 30 minutes, I was in bed. I was laying there
Yeah.
in bed on my phone, actually playing on my phone. And I think it was like 7:30, and my
Yeah.
phone's ringing,
It
and it
was
was
early.
him. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he had shot him. It was like the first deer he saw that came
Yep.
in.
Yeah. And then you reached out to me, and I was like, heck. And this is how close we are. I just threw stuff in the side by side and come over.
But like
And
you said, that deer we were in a very bedded area, and I wasn't there that time. Normally, him and I hunt together a lot,
right.
which is extremely tough because you have two bodies putting scent out.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to hit that real quick here before we wrap up tonight.
Yeah.
But he had called, he had said, I'm not sure, man. He said, I think I smoked him, but I'm not sure. And I was like, all right. I'm calling Sean right now immediately. Like before I hadn't even done anything else. I hung up the phone and I called you because
Yeah.
he wasn't sure. I knew we were right on the property line, and I did not want to risk bumping a 130-inch deer onto the neighbor and them getting upset about it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
not
Right.
letting us
Yeah.
recover.
Basically on rifle season eve.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So yeah, basically we found that deer in about I think 6 or 7 minutes.
5 minutes or so. Yeah,
Yeah.
drone went up. I told you about what direction he should have been, and it was
Yeah.
short work.
We found a couple squirrels. We found one live deer, and then we found the deer. So
Yep,
yeah, I mean they're both the dog. I always tell people I trust the dog. They talk. You know, Jesse talks to me. My other dogs talk to me. I trust Jesse fully. I mean, I've got some young ones that could be superstars, but Jesse I trust fully. She's a superstar. The drone, um, if you got good direction, drone's very efficient. That was a perfect day. Like you said, it was raining. It was just it wasn't warm, and man, the deer were glowing.
yeah.
So we picked that
Well,
one up in a hurry.
do you remember I had you bring the drone in another time too for another
Yes.
deer last year that was shot on the property that was
Yeah.
supposedly a pretty big buck, and we looked and looked and looked and couldn't find it, and I believe that that deer lived because if it would have been anywhere around, I believe we'd have found him on the
Yeah.
drone.
I thought so at that point in time. That was another rainy day.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I remember I had to park the drone in the air during about a 50-mile-per-hour wind
Yep.
front that come through. Um, yeah, let's just jump back to scent control and wind. You were just talking about that.
Yeah. So
Uh,
aside from the cell cameras,
mm-hmm.
the scent control by far is the most important thing. Like
Right.
those two, if you had to tell me to pick two things that I make me most successful killing mature deer I kill, it's the cell cams and the scent control system.
Okay.
And a lot of people will probably, this is a hot take, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think that I can fully 100% beat a deer's nose,
Right.
but I do think that I can trick his nose long enough for me to pull the trigger on him.
Right.
Um, I'm I'm scent crazy, man. Like it is so crucial. Um, the the system that I go through, like down to obviously I have scent shower gel that I shower in. I will never go into the woods if I can't shower in a scent shower.
Right.
I use a product called Shield scent.
Yeah.
Um, the stuff I swear by it. I've been using it for years and years and years. I wash my clothes in that stuff. When I do have to wash my clothes, the same Shield brand.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I get so detailed on it, Sean. Like the night before, so if I know I'm going to hunt, I've got a scent locker,
Mm-hmm.
that's got ozone or whatever. But
Yes.
the night before, if I know I'm going to go, the night before, I'm legitimately after I make sure my washer is scent free, which I actually have. I'm so crazy about it. I actually have a second washer and dryer downstairs that my wife can't use that I wash my hunting clothes in, so we don't have to worry about cleaning out the washer and
Okay.
dryer. But the night before, like I will wash legitimately my socks, my boxers, the towel that I'm going to dry off with the next morning, it all
Mm-hmm.
gets washed the night before. Okay.
Yeah.
My hunting clothes never leave a tub and
Right.
they never come in the house unless it's in the tub. It'll come into my
Right.
scent blocker locker I got into ozone. But other than that, like Martin will like this, but we always give each other hell all the time because it could be 25 degrees outside. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it's snowing on the ground and it's 20 degrees outside, we dress outside the vehicles. Like we
Right.
will strip down on a little mat or something, and we will get and we will dress there. And when we come out of the woods, same thing. We completely dress back down, and those clothes goes back in the tub or whatever we've got at the
Right.
time. So it's and then on top of that, so I'm doing I'm washing my clothes, everything that I'm wearing an extra set of clothes in my vehicle. You know what I'm saying? There,
Right.
and I'm washing those clothes that I'm wearing there just to wear into my truck to the field.
Okay.
The night before. Um, I quit using scented products. Period. Like all year round. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I use non-scented deodorant all year round.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in the off season, like it could be the off season. I never wear cologne. My wife's not a huge fan, but I never wear cologne. I never wear any kind of scented, deodorant. I never use any kind of scented shower products because, in my personal opinion, that stuff can get in your skin and you can sweat it out. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I completely do not use any kind of scented products as far as that goes. Uh, and then, I run an ozonics unit all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
People can say what they want about it. You can call it a gimmick. You can say whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
but I will not go into the woods without my ozonics unit.
Okay.
Period. That's part of the system for me. Once I go through, like I said, I'm never going in without showering. I'm always going in with my clothes clean and scented. I'm always dressing outside of the vehicle.
Right.
And then I use the Limit Shield product. They've got a spray too. Say what you want about the sprays. Call them gimmicky, whatever you want. To me, I am going to do everything I can possibly do, regardless how gimmicky you can think it is, if it gets that deer one more step. If it
Right.
brings that buck one more step in to where I can pull the trigger, I'm going to do it. And I'm telling you, with the scent system I use, I've seen it. I've had big bucks right dead downwind of me, and I kept them there just long enough with my
Right.
scent system to be able to pull the trigger on them.
Right.
You can't hunt around here, Sean. This isn't the Midwest. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
hear a lot of the big guys talking like, "Oh, we'll only hunt when the wind's right."
Right.
Well, if you only hunt when the wind's right here in West
You'll
Virginia,
never
with the
hunt.
way you'll never hunt. Okay, and then even then yet, and this is the reason actually why I'm going to try out the Reveal Tacticams that are coming out here soon. You can look at the weather app and it might say the wind's blowing northwest. Then you go walk into your stand, and because of the terrain, it's blown, out of
Yeah.
the south or out of the
Right.
east, just because of the
Exactly.
terrain. It's never hardly ever accurate here. So if
Right.
you're relying on your weather app and the wind blowing one direction to go hunt around here, good luck, bud.
Right.
It's not going
Exactly.
to work. So I am
Exactly.
going to take, regardless of what. Now, obviously, I would love to play the wind. If it'll work out, when I go to pick out one of my spots, I'm checking that. You know what I mean? I'm saying,
Right.
okay, which way does the wind blow? Because I want to, if I know what way they're coming in, I want to obviously try to keep my wind away from them. But to me, I'm so confident in my scent system, Sean.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll be honest with you. I
Right.
don't care because I think I can get them. I'm proving to myself, especially late season, obviously, the colder, the better it is. It's a much, much tougher thing to do in the early season when it's warm. As a matter of fact, that deer right there, I think it's that one right there,
Right.
I killed 3 years ago on a food plot in the first week of October.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 80 degrees, man.
Right.
And I shot that deer at like 23 yards. And I fully believe that if I didn't have the scent system that I have, I would have never, because I was sweating, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Another
Exactly.
product that Limit Shield makes, they make a foam. They got make a like a foam that you spray on. It's kind of like hand sanitizer, but it kills the bacteria and kills the scent on you.
Yeah.
Like every time I walk into the stand, if I sweat, I wipe myself down with that foam. Like
Mm-hmm.
I got no scent wipes. Same thing. If I sweat any, I'll wipe
Right.
myself down with those, and stand before I go
Right.
do anything. But I fully believe if you follow all the steps, and if I skip any of the steps, you can ask Martin because he's about one of the only people I'll let hunt with me because he
Right.
knows how. First of all, it's hard enough to kill a big mature buck if you got one guy scent in the woods. It's
Right.
even harder when you got two guys in the woods.
Yes.
So if we're not following the system down to a T, you're wasting your time, in my opinion.
Right.
But doing it the way I do it, like I said, I fully believe you can say, for the most part, you can say, heck with the wind, you go hunt, and you can trick that deer's nose just long enough. In my
Yeah.
opinion, if you do everything right, to be able to get the shot off on him.
Get
But
that
you got to
shot
go
off.
through the whole entire system. You can't skip any of the steps. You can't go
Right.
hop in your truck with your hunting clothes on. You know what I mean? After
Right.
you get done hunting, you come back down out. You can't go get back in your truck with your hunting clothes on and then come home. You got to make
Right.
sure that your washer and dryer, like I said, can't have any scent in it when you wash your clothes.
Right.
Like I said, I've got the ozonics running the whole time. I've got the ozone in the scent locker, that I'll do my
Right.
clothes after I wash them, all that stuff. Like I'm going as far out as you can go as far as the scent goes, my man.
Right. Couple more questions, and then we're probably going to have to jump off of here this evening.
Yep.
Mock Mock scrapes and urines. Do you use any of them?
As far as the urines, I used to dabble a little bit with a company called Raw Sense.
Mm-hmm.
Used to dabble with them a little bit, but I'll be honest with you, I've found that my own human pee, for most
Mm-hmm.
instances, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
works the same. I think peas pee in the end, and it took me a long time to get comfortable with that because, like I just got done telling you,
Right.
I'm a big
With the
scent,
scent.
you know what I
Right.
mean, scent crazy guy. So used to read a lot about guys peeing in scrapes,
Mm-hmm.
and I said I used to hate it until finally I found a couple scrapes that weren't necessarily in my good areas and
Right.
tested on those first and figured out it worked. I think I think mock scrapes are especially they can play a huge role, especially a little bit earlier in the season, if you ask me, in my opinion.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to go probably here in a couple weeks to a piece of very well known public land around here that I think that's the only way you can hunt it. And I think there's some really big bucks in that public land that are really hard to get to. And you can't, it's on public. So you can't,
Yeah.
well, I
You
shouldn't
can't
say
feed.
it's not public. Sorry, it's WMA.
Right.
It's at WMA and you can't feed.
Right.
And um, I don't know about down there this year. Of course, I think the mass is down this year
Mm-hmm.
compared to what it's been in years past, at least in my area. So you
Yeah.
may be able to focus in on a couple lone feed trees. Last couple years, you could have never done that because there was enough acorns on the ground that lasted until springtime.
Right.
But yeah, I think mock grapes are the most effective way, especially in areas you can't feed, to
Right.
kill a mature deer and to get even inventory or pictures, daytime pictures of a mature buck.
Right.
But like I said,
Uh.
as far as the sense goes, I haven't. I know some guys, some of them scrape guys are real crazy about it. They want to do the orbital scent,
Yeah.
with and that kind of stuff like that. I'm I would probably I use them more for inventory, like I said too, than I do. Don't necessarily hunt over them a ton,
Right.
but yeah, you got to put them in the bag.
Right. Exactly. Shed hunting. You do much shed hunting?
Not as much as I'd like to.
Right.
Um, I'll be honest with you, I'm a pretty lazy shed hunter, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of my shed hunting comes out of the food plots, or we use. I use buy big soybean bales here,
Right.
and normally about December, somewhere in December, we'll put out these big 6x6 round bales or 5x6. I don't know. They're like 1,200 pounds soybean
Yep.
bales.
Yep.
We'll put those out in December and normally try to stay away for a little while. And normally, by the end of February, early March, we can go out in those food plots and around those soybean bales and just pick them up. They're just laying
Right.
everywhere around there.
Um, Justin, you got anything else you want to tell the public? I mean, what I think people need to take away from what you got going on is you have a system, and it's one that you go by, whether it's your food plots or your scent control, your scouting, your cameras. It's all a system, and that's what's made you successful, and you figured it out.
It wasn't easy, Sean. Took a lot of years. You know what I mean? I've been hunting now since I'm pushing. I ain't gonna say exactly how old I am, but I'm almost 40 years old, and I killed my first deer when I was 10.
Right.
So, and I've been bow hunting since mostly bow hunt. I mostly bow hunt, and I've been
Right.
mostly bow hunting since I was 12 years old. So there's been a lot of failures, you know, in between before the successes, so to speak.
Right.
But for me, I'll never tell anybody what to kill, man. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You kill what makes you happy. But for me, I want to kill mature deer. And to do that, it's an all year round thing. Like I'm crazy about deer, dude. I think
Right.
about bucks almost all year round. Unless I'm on a boat in March bass fishing, trying to catch some big bass, the majority of the time I'm thinking about bucks and I'm wanting to do whatever it takes. It's an all, like I said, all year round, whether it's minerals, whether it's food plotting in the summertime, whether it's scouting after the season, trying to backtrack them into the beds.
Right.
It's an all year round ordeal. And I want to do it and kill the most mature deer I can while I'm doing it.
There you
Because
go.
that's what I want to do for me.
Right. Exactly. Um, Justin, I really appreciate you coming on this evening.
Yes, sir. I
And
know. I appreciate you having me, Sean. It was a
I
pleasure. I appreciate, what you're doing here, what you got going on. Obviously, I'm going to continue to use you any chance I get. You know,
appreciate that.
I've
We
told
do
you
appreciate it.
before, I'm I'm not willing to risk losing a deer. I put way too much time and effort into them.
Right.
Like I said, all year round thing for me. So why would I even risk losing a deer or bumping a deer off my property? If it runs out of my eyesight, I'm calling you.
Well,
Don't care.
we appreciate that. That's for sure. Hey, before we get off of here, I need to get back in my notebook to the right. Um, Need to tell you about what's coming up here in the next couple of few podcasts. Um, it's next Monday is the 31st of August. Man, August is about gone. September 1st will be here next Tuesday. That's dove season. That's a big party. We get the hunting seasons kicked off. But next Monday, 8:31, we're gonna have JC on. Raised Right with JC. Yeah, that's my daughter, but she wanted to be on a live cast and she wants to talk hunting and she might have a few guests along. So we're gonna have her on. Next Wednesday, we're really jumping back into tracking with a real technical tracker, Robert Miller out of Michigan. Over 800 lifetime recoveries, several dogs. We're going to talk tracking, training, what Michigan deer hunting's looking like right now, and go from there. Then on the 9th, Wednesday the 9th, we're going to talk with Chris Sparks from Rack Time, and I think Roger Perry will be joining him if his schedule uh, allows him to. And then looking up towards the middle of the month, we're going to have Jeremy Critchfield, the hunt chef, on to talk about his products and how he become known as the hunt chef and the hashtag Eat What You Kill guy. And then Wednesday, 9/16th, it's all going to be tracking. We're going to talk with Ty George, Rhonda, and Tyler Shrewsbury and James Duff out of Longspur System. These are first and second year trackers, and they're going to tell you how this system of mentoring has really brought them up to do the best they can for hunters out there. But for this evening, I want to thank Justin Stanton for coming on from here in Buckhannon, West Virginia. Good friend and a good deer hunter. And we will be coming back live on the air on Monday evening. Justin, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean. It's been an honor. I really appreciate it, brother.
Okay, everybody, watch for us. You can catch this if you just caught the end of it. It will be on YouTube. We'll have it posted up here in a day or so on the different Facebook pages. So watch for our Justin Stanton episode, and we appreciate